Right, so as I mentioned before, there's no reason you should not memorize the distance formula because you're going to write it down every single time you have to work a distance problem. So as a reminder, distance equals square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? Also, for your problem, so it's saying this is reading find the distance of A and B between points A and B. So this D, A comma B is telling you to find the distance. So that's what that means. I'm going to label my parts. Okay, first order pair, that's your X1 and your Y1 because it's your first order pair. Your second order pair is going to be X2, Y2. Make sure you read the directions, okay, in blue. Simplify your answer, type an exact answer using radicals as needed, all right? So once you've labeled your parts and you've written down your formula, you plug it in. X2 is 6 minus X1, which is 6, squared, plus Y2, which is 6, minus negative 6 squared. Okay? Once you have that written out, then you go to your calculator, right? You go to Desmos, and you're going to type in, remember, the meat of the problem. Okay, what's underneath the square root? This is what you type. All right, just as you see it, open parentheses, 6 minus 6, close, then squared, plus 6 minus negative 6. So you're using the minus sign as both your subtraction and your negative. It works for this calculator, doesn't work for all. Okay, so what's underneath the square root is 144. Okay. So, okay, bring down that square root symbol. We had 144. That was the number underneath. Check your perfect square chart that I gave you in the last lesson. 144 is a perfect square, so the answer is 12. Okay. All right, again, you're asked to find the distance between these 2 points. So you're going to write the distance formula again. Every time you write it down, you're forcing yourself to memorize it. All right, label your order pairs, X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Plug it in. Make sure you read your directions. Wants exact distance. So if need be, you might have to divide up the chart like we did in the last lesson. Okay, once you have it written out, I don't care that you plug it into the calculator. You must write it down. Okay, I've seen too many times mistakes happen where they type it in incorrectly into their calculator, and so then they get the wrong answer. Open parentheses, 12 minus 0, close, squared, plus, open, 3 minus 7, close, squared. Okay, 160. That's what goes underneath the square root. Okay, that is not a perfect square, which means I need to divide up the chart like you learned on the last lesson. All right, so 160 falls between 169 and 144. So 160 divided by 144. Enter. Keep going until you get a whole number. Remember, do not skip around. You skip around, more than likely, you're not going to get the answer that you were looking for. Keep going. 36, 160 divided by 25. 160 divided by 16, okay? I know it did take a little bit of time. It doesn't matter. Don't skip around because you can mess up. This one might have been a little bit easier for some of you, and you knew 16. That's fine, but go up the chart, have a good practice of that. Remember to put your perfect square first when simplifying. Other factor follows. Square root of 16 is 4. The other factor follows. Okay, there's your simplified answer. It's an exact answer. That's what we're looking for in this problem. Okay, so that's the distance formula. Okay, so now we're talking midpoint. Midpoint is the point that divides or bisects the segment. I already gave you this definition when we talked about segment relations in 1.4, but we're bringing it up again. Midpoint, it's very easy. Very, very, very easy. You take the two numbers, add them together. Okay, 3 plus 13 is 16. Divide by 2. Remember, midpoint is the halfway point. So you add your two numbers, divide by 2, and that's your midpoint. Okay, that's the coordinate for your midpoint. Doesn't matter that you have a negative number. You still take those two numbers, add them together, and divide by 2. Here, it may not matter if you leave it as a fraction. If you want to turn it into a decimal, this is simplified, so that is acceptable, or negative 2.5. Both depending on what the blue message says underneath the answer box. Okay? All right. Now, that was regular number line. So now we're going to talk about on the coordinate plane. All right? So there's a formula, but just like we did on the last slide, you're simply taking the halfway point. So you take the half of your x's and the half of your y's, okay? And that's your midpoint coordinate for the coordinate plane. Okay, so it's the average of the x, the average of the y. Here's the formula. Okay, so you take your x's, add them together. Then divide by 2. That's going to be your x coordinate. Take your y's, 4 plus 10. Then divide that by 2. That's going to be your y coordinate. Don't put this all in your calculator one step. 9 out of 10, you're going to do it wrong. Okay? You're not going to move your cursor where it goes. Things happen. So 8 plus 2, that's 10. Divided by 2, simply 5. 4 plus 10, that's 14. Divided by 2, that's 7. So your midpoint is 5, 7. This is an ordered pair. Be sure that you write it as an ordered pair, okay? Or it will be marked incorrect. All right, let's do another one. So take your x's, add them together. Take your y's, add those two numbers together. Right? When I know if you might be thinking, well, on the formula it said x2 plus x1, y2 plus y1. That doesn't matter, okay? What matters is, because addition, okay, order doesn't matter. So that doesn't, as long as you're consistent in your process, you should be fine. So 8 plus 4, 12 over 2. Negative 7 plus 3, negative 4 over 2. All right, simplify. So it comes out to 6, negative 2. Remember, it is an ordered pair. You must write it as such.